Well, good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Jay, and I'm coming to you from the vicarage, and we're here to do our Monday Digging Deeper devotional. Schedules have been really crazy this last week, and so we are still working on the end of our Digging Deeper sermon from last week, which was the first 3 B's of ministry and mission. Yesterday, I preached the next 4 B's of mission. And so that gives us 7 B's of ministry or mission. And actually there's 8, and I brought that up yesterday. The very first B of mission or ministry is we need to learn how to be with Jesus. And from there, we need to learn how to be effective. We need to learn how to be bold. We need to learn how to be ready to move when the Holy Spirit moves us, which is what we're going to talk about today. We need to be ready for the move of the Holy Spirit, the supernatural move of the Holy Spirit. We need to be ready for people's reaction. We need to be ready for trouble, and we need to be ready to report on the results. That's a very important part. Today we're going to be talking from Acts chapter 14, verses 5 and 6, I believe. And we're going to be talking about being ready to move with the Holy Spirit. In verse 5 and 6 and part of verse 7, and verse 7, the Bible tells us this. There was a plot afoot among both Jews and Gentiles together with their leaders to mistreat Paul and Barnabas and to stone them. But they found out about it, and they fled to the Lycaonian cities of Lystra and Derbe and to the surrounding country, where they continued to preach the gospel. And from this we pick up the principle that we need, as people of God, if we're going to be effective and if we're going to be truly bold, we need to be ready to move when the time comes to move. And I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be ready to move. This can manifest in a couple of different ways in our lives. First of all, there may come a time when it is necessary for us to move locations. The Holy Spirit takes us from one church or one city to another. And that can be brought about by any of a host of life circumstances. I can tell you, I think that as modern Christians, we do move churches too much. I don't believe we're supposed to move from our place of ministry unless the Holy Spirit moves us. Just letting this truck go by. And I think a lot of times we move according to the flesh rather than according to the Spirit. Now, the Spirit can come along like he did with Paul and Barnabas, and he can move people from one place to another in order to effectively bring about ministry. But so many of us move out of a sense of convenience. If you're moving from Massachusetts to California because a job has relocated you, of course you're going to change churches. But I think so many of us just choose to move on a whim because something in our current location has become inconvenient. And what we should be doing is we should be being bold, and we should be bringing the power of the Holy Spirit to bear rather than just moving churches because things are getting hard. But there is a time where we need to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit, and we need to move from one place to another. Secondly, we also need to be ready to move ministries as God tells us to move ministries. The job of ministry, the work of ministry, is not your gift or your calling. In other words, you might be a worship leader right now, and God might be moving you to become a pastor. Your job of worship leading is not your calling. It's a job, and it can change. God can change your job from worship leader to youth pastor to whatever. None of those are callings. Those are jobs. And so we need to recognize that our current role is not our gift. It's our job. It's not our calling. It's our job. And so God can come in and change our job or our ministry work at any time he wants. He can move us from one thing to another according to our gift. Don't be despondent when God moves you off the worship team and puts you somewhere else. Just find the somewhere else that God is taking you. Don't be upset when you have to move from being a Sunday school teacher or a growth group leader to being the head of the kitchen or something like that. God can move us according to his plan and his purpose. We just need to be sensitive to know when it's the Holy Spirit moving us rather than our own whim or choice. And that requires us to go back to the very first to be with Jesus, which we've been covering over and over again throughout this series. We need to learn to be with Jesus, to be with the Holy Spirit, and to let him lead us rather than our own flesh or our own desires. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Until we meet again, God bless you and be at peace.